executive meeting, and wanted to do a vote on the paving for the city of Darlington, for the city to agree to paving contract agreement that we had between Evans Construction Paving and Industrial Paving. Is there any further discussion on that before we make a vote?
I need a little more explanation, Mr. Mayor. We're splitting that original industrial paving job that we awarded them in September. We're splitting it between Evans Pavement and Industrial Paving.
And we had discussed possibly moving Elma Circle. You want to leave it the way it is on the paper, where Evans Pavement would get the roads that you have highlighted for them: Bowen Street, Darlington Street, Trail Street, Ford Street, Dutton Lane, Court Street, Joy and McMinnis, and Lock-In Drive would go into Evans Pavement.
What is that amount for,
And also Bonaparte Drive.
Sam Evans, and what is the amount for?
So you got a total of $143,300. Now, I have one question. Lock-In Drive, we had said originally that we were just gonna pave it, then we came back and said we were going to patch it. With what you have right here at this moment, you got $57,000 for Evans to pave it.
That's paving it.
Pave the whole road?
Yeah, because patching, you're gonna have to pave it eventually. If you go ahead, if you patch it, you're gonna be paving it in a year or two
There
anyway.
was a discussion on that, so that's including paving the full road.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, Bonaparte Drive. So the total roads that he would have would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 roads, a total of $143,300, correct?
That's right.
The other roads would go to industrial paving, which is Richmond Street, Country Club Drive, Green Drive, T Circle, Hainsworth Alley, Elma Circle, Henry Street. Those streets would go a total of
Jeffrey and Winston.
Jeffrey and Winston are going
No,
to be
Jeffrey
paid by
Wilson are
the,
done by the state.
or have already been paid by the state. And that would be a total for industrial paving approved of $236,760.65. The combination total of $380,060.65.
That's right.
I'd like to motion that we approve these two contracts for Evans Pavement and Industrial Paving. Do I need to state them out?
I would.
Okay. I'd like to, motion to approve Evans Pavement for $143,300. And also motion to approve Industrial Paving for a total contract of $236,760.65 for a total bid of $380,060.65.
I would just like to, if you would add to your motion that we have city managers sign these contracts on behalf of the city, and that we actually have written contracts rather than verbal contracts.
I'd also like to add that we would have the manager have a written contract signed by the city manager as well. Any seconds?
I would second that.
Mr. Nettles?
Aye.
Elaine?
Aye.
Brian? Mr. Melly? Mr. Backus?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Seegers? Aye. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion is passed.
Thank you.
The other item that we voted to talk about in the executive session about annexation agreement, the Darlington Raceway, it will be tabled, and so we will not vote on that tonight. Okay. All right. I'd like to thank everybody tonight. We'll start our city council meeting for November the 10th, which was supposed to start at 6:30, but we're a little late. Get started out the executive session. The pastor's not here tonight, so everyone will bow your head. We'll say a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all your blessings you've done for us and given us. Thank you for bringing our city together, Lord, and for the city council, give us the direction that we need to go, that we'll lead by example and do as we should for the city, the citizens, Lord. Thank you for this time that we have together. I ask to bless us in all that we say and do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion for approval of minutes of the city council meeting from 10/6/2020?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of our city council meeting of October 6, 2020.
All in second motion. Okay. All in favor, Mr. Bryant? Millie?
Aye.
Backus? Seegers? Okay, aye. Thank you, motion carried. All right, do I have a motion for approval of meeting for the agenda for tonight?
I'll make a motion that we approve tonight's meeting agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Mr. Nettles?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lane? Ms. Backus? Seegers, thank you. Aye. All right, report of standing committees, the Darlington Downtown Revitalization Association, Mrs. Rock.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The DDRA held our final monthly members breakfast for 2020 on Thursday, October 29th, with a record crowd of businesses, old and new, represented. We will return to having those monthly meetings on the fourth Thursday of the month in January of 2021. We skipped the holiday season to avoid conflicts. But we are still working. As our annual holiday Shop Darlington contest kicks off this month, we encourage folks to shop at 5 different businesses between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Send in your receipts and entry form and have a chance to win one of 3 $100 cash prizes. And of course, the more you shop, the more entries you can enter into the contest. The idea is to have residents explore Darlington's shops, especially those they have never entered, as owners and managers work hard to stock a variety of unique items. You can see more information about the contest at buildupdarlington.org/shopdarlington. The DDRA is also partnering with the Darlington Rescue Squad to hold a Christmas festival from 4 to 7 p.m. Sunday, December 6th on the public square to give visitors and residents a chance to enjoy some shopping while enjoying the Darlington Rescue Squad Christmas Parade and Darlington Kiwanis Club Carol Lighting Service downtown. The parade begins at 4 o'clock at Fitness World Gyms and comes to the square, where the city tree will be lit during the Darlington Kiwanis Club Carol Lighting Service at approximately 6 o'clock. The Darlington Ministerial Association and Kiwanis Club gather speakers and musicians for the event to celebrate the Christmas season. The Christmas Festival will feature vendor spaces around the square from 4 to 7 to encourage folks to stay after the Christmas parade for these activities. We are also making plans for the return of the Taste of Darlington, a Mother's Day race, and more. In the meantime, we continue to promote Darlington and its businesses on social media and through our news alert system each week. Continually updating our webpage, buildupdarlington.org, where you can sign up to receive those news alerts on your phone via text or directly to your email. Any questions?
What's the date for the parade?
Sunday, December 6th.
Where's the lineup for the parade?
Fitness World.
So, the floats and everything, what time should our council members be down there, I guess, the lineups?
We have not had any float requests yet. We have to have 3 to 4 for the float company to bring the floats here.
Okay, all right.
A lot of people that have requested the floats in the past are not able to do that this year. So I'm just waiting to see if we have any floats available.
What time?
Can I enter in my golf cart?
What time?
Oh, you can. I mean, if you know somebody with, a lot of people are making their own floats this year. Actually,
I have a golf cart. Can I
Yeah.
dress the golf cart up?
yeah, you can do anything you want to.
You have any competition for the golf cart?
Yes, we are having the golf cart competition.
Oh, really?
hmm
Okay.
Christmas themed. hmm
Do y'all have anything on the on y'all's website, like Facebook site, I can share? with
Yes,
golf
on the
cart
Darlington
competition?
Rescue Squad Christmas Parade Facebook page. We also have online registration there.
And it has it for the golf cart competition?
Yes.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay, Thank you, Lisa. All right, the Greater Darlington Chamber of Commerce, will be, instead of Nancy Matthews, will be, Anna DeWitt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're here to report on the Fright Fest that was held on Halloween at the square. It was a success. We believe we had well over 5,000 people. However, that was over 5 hours. We had people coming and going all day long, so the crowds were not that big. We did trunk or treat. We had rides. We had bingo with prizes that our city manager called bingo for us. The Tickets from Cops initiative was awesome this year. We were able to raise over $1,500, and we were able to give away 400 free tickets to the kids that attended the festival. So we were real proud of that. This was a one-time thing for us. We will go back to Freedom Fest next year, in which we were hoping to have on the square and bring more business downtown to Darlington. December the 3rd, we will have a ribbon cutting for Bethea Baptist Retirement Home's new facility. I'll have the time shortly once we confirm that with her. And also, instead of having the toast of Darlington, the Chamber is now going to move towards the Mayor's Masquerade Ball. So it will be held on New Year's Eve. We do not have a lot of details yet, but we noticed that Darlington doesn't have anything for adults to do on New Year's Eve, so we're going to try and have it. It'll be in the toast theme with food vendors there to provide food. But you'll buy your tickets. We're looking for a venue now. And then you can come up in mask. It's called a ball, but it will be more country club casual dress. So we're looking to have that to replace the Toast of Darlington. Do you have any questions?
Okay. Thank you. The fireworks show was phenomenal.
Yes, it was.
All right, very good,
The
thank you.
fireworks show was phenomenal. There was a lot of complaints about that fireworks show that I received. A lot of phone calls about that fireworks.
It was a fantastic show. All right, citizens wishing to appear before council. Is there anything, Lisa?
We didn't receive any written comments.
All right, thank you. Unfinished business, second reading ordinance 2020-20, the lease for the Carnegie Library to the Darlington County.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Miller? Mr. Miller, do you have a question?
Yes, sir, I don't know whether, well, let's hear what Howard's got to say first.
Okay.
Darlington County asked that we change Darlington County will make Carnegie Library available for community meetings to change to make available to the city of Darlington for city of Darlington meetings.
Can we use the word event instead of meetings?
Say it again.
Darlington County wants to make the Carnegie Library available for city of Darlington meetings.
Not general community.
General community meetings. They're gonna have something in that facility that's not necessarily gonna be conducive to having just available just for meetings. It would be available possibly in the evenings for meetings, but not necessarily during the daytime. So they feel like that, just saying community meetings would mean that if they have some type of activity going on during the business day, they have to stop everything for that. That's their concern with that. They have a specific use plan for the building during the daylight business hours.
Ms. Carter?
How would they view, for after-hours community meetings?
They're okay with that, but like I say, with what they have planned during the day, they don't want it available during the day for meetings.
I think the reason they didn't say community, they wanted to change it for community, that's my understanding, was he didn't want it to be just for the open public.
Right, but
use.
he,
It's for the city.
specifically the city of Darlington is what he wanted to say.
Can we, instead of saying city meetings, can we change it to city events? Because there may be an event that we're having, it's not a meeting, and we may want to access and use the property.
But the way they sound like they don't want events.
Well, but they don't want community events, but a city-sponsored event, I think is.
This is gonna be a meeting room, I mean, it's not gonna be a place that you're not a big party event.
Yeah, so, does anybody got a problem with that? It'll give us the opening to be able to use it if we have an interest in the
Is
future.
this gonna be a meeting room, correct?
Yeah, it's just an area it's like a large table with 15 or 20 chairs, that's what they're talking looking at.
Yes, me personally, I would say it's a meeting, because you don't have one been in there.
Right.
I mean, you could have wine and cheese, you could have something.
Can we-
going
That
on.
could be part of the meeting.
Can we not just say city use?
Yeah, thank you.
I would like to change the language in number one.
So we're gonna go ahead with city use?
I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah, I would think so.
city use is good, thank you.
Darlington County will be financially responsible for all renovations to the Carnegie Library. I think it should be responsible for all renovations and maintenance, because maintenance is not necessarily the same thing as renovations, and I don't want them to fall down on maintaining the building. I don't think they would intend to, but I just think that putting renovations and maintenance would ensure that everybody's on the same page.
They are.
Okay, maybe
If you go down to the third from last line, the bullet point, it says Darlington County will maintain property and liability insurance. So, never mind, that's assuming a maintained property insurance, I apologize.
so what were you talking about?
But it's, I mean, like you're saying, it's saying, already saying in that they're gonna maintain the property and liability insurance, but I don't think that's what they mean in that.
Yeah, I messed up, I was thinking that that was answering his question, but it's actually,
Not,
I misinterpreted the sentence, I apologize, y'all. So the first line needs to say Darlington County will be financially responsible for all renovations and maintenance to the Carnegie Library?
Correct.
Okay.
okay. That's what I couldn't understand which one you were asking, because it looked like they were going, they're saying they're gonna be financially responsible. But you wanna add and maintenance.
Need a motion?
I'd like to motion that we approve,
Changes.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'd like to motion that we approve second reading ordinance 2020-20, lease Carnegie Library to Darlington County with the changes to the contract to include the first sentencing changing to Darlington County would be financially responsible for all renovations and maintenance to the Carnegie Library. And the fifth bullet point down, I'd like to change it to Darlington County will make the Carnegie Library available for city use.
I'll second that motion.
You wanna put it as city use after hours?
No, sir. The Darlington County will make the Carnegie Library available for city use.
They're not gonna, make it available to us during daylight hours.
Well, previously, we didn't have a specification on times, and they were fine with that. I think we all assumed that they're gonna be using it 8 to 5. If they want more specification in there, I think we can authorize the city manager to include 8 to 5, but I don't think we need to limit ourselves either.
Well, just not go ask, wouldn't go ask for what, I wouldn't want somebody coming in to, because they're gonna make use of the building. I wouldn't want the county coming into our building and say, you know, we let you use it, and we wanna use it now, and it interrupts our normal operations.
I was just going on what their concerns were, and the only concern they have was community meetings, but if y'all wanna add after city use, or we can change the line to Darlington County and make the Carnegie Library available for city use after hours.
But isn't that what they're doing now? They're letting us know what their concerns are, that they want this, to specify after business hours, you know.
We could say,
I mean, after
provided
normal
it does
business
not
hours,
interfere
they're
with
letting
their
us know.
normal operations.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
So Darlington County will make the Carnegie Library available for city use, provided it does not interfere with their operation.
With their normal operations.
Provided
Normal, after. You saying after?
interfere with their normal operations.
We could use it during the time, during daylight hours if it didn't interfere, but if they had something going on, then we would
Right.
wait all the times.
Sounds good.
Do we have a second?
So I initially seconded it, so I'll do it again.
Okay, do you second that, Rita? All in favor? Raise your hand. Mrs. Backus? All right. Motion carries. Unfinished business, public hearing ordinance. Public hearing ordinance 2020-21, commercial refuse container fees.
Is this the one right here?
Lisa, is there anything on that? On the public hearing,
We did not receive any comments.
no comments received. Alex?
I had already lined up.
Okay. Did you just close that out at all? All right, so no comments were made on the public hearing ordinance of the commercial, of the 2020-21 commercial refuse container fees. All right, unfinished business, the second reading ordinance 2020-21 commercial refuse container rates. Do we have a motion to,
I simply did not get the fee schedule that was said to be attached. I didn't know whether we had those fee schedules or not.
do you have a fee schedule?
Yeah, I believe it's further back in the packet.
Thank you.
How far back? Oh,
Yeah. Right, there's several pages back.
I looked for it. This must be here.
I'd like. Can I go ahead and motion?
Any discussion?
I'd like the motion that we approve second reading ordinance 2020-21 commercial refuse container rates.
Second.
Do we have a second? Mr. Nettles, second.
I second.
Okay, Ms. Lane, second. Okay, all in favor, Mr. Nettles?
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Backus?
Aye.
Mr. Millie?
Aye.
Mr. Seegers, aye. Okay. Aye. Okay, motion carries, thank you. All right, under new business,
Just for comment, I noticed that the changes are in our handout, but they are separated from the proposed ordinance.
Right. It's like, well,
under new business, business license enforcement, Sheila?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I hope everyone is well. We come before you to propose a change to a couple of the business license ordinances, specifically 22-35, which is police to investigate. It gives the police department the power to investigate business license infractions. And so I was talking to Charles Bailey, who is the fire marshal for the city, and he does inspections for life safety issues. And there wasn't a lot of recourse as far as business licenses. He's already out there for the police department to go out there on a separate inspection, and then there wasn't a lot of ability for him specifically to do anything if there were violations. He would have to call me, and I'd have to come out. And so it kind of made sense to us that we change the ordinance where the police, they're not there on a regular basis for businesses. They have a lot of other things to do within the city. They have a lot of other demands that, and if we're there already, I'm there for different code enforcement issues. He's there for fire marshal issues. It would make sense to change the ordinance to read that the building official, fire marshal, investigate violations as it pertains to business licenses. So then we started looking at that, and it made also sense that if there is a violation, if they haven't had, I think Charles said he went to an inspection the other day, and it'd been years since the fire extinguishers had been fixed, and lights and different things, and we've gone into places and there's ridiculous amount of maintenance issues and code violations as it pertains to maintenance property, and there wasn't there's some recourse for us. We can shut it down Some business licenses hadn't been renewed in looking at that. And so, you know, this just adds another way for us to be able to protect our citizens, to make sure that they're safe when they go into places, that there's fire extinguishers that have been serviced on a regular basis, there's fire suppression systems that have been serviced on a regular basis, that you know, the IFC, as you know, Charles looks at it, you know, he's able to go through and make sure that, you know, we're not in violation, because there's a lot of things that are going on. So, giving us the ability to suspend a business license until such time that it's, you know, brought into compliance, you know, it affords him that opportunity to do that. You know, if I go in there and there's things that I've seen, it affords me the opportunity to do that. And then if it's not brought into compliance, and usually we give them 30 days, and if there's extenuating circumstances, we can still extend that. The city manager still has the ability to revoke the business license altogether. Any questions?
Okay, yeah, just for me, for the know in the process here.
Mhm.
Okay. What you were asking, your office is the one that, okay, you give the, a business license of here. No?
So, no ma'am, no ma'am.
All right.
My office does not give out business licenses. So what happens is a new business comes to town, or there's an existing business and there's a new business owner. When that happens, they have to get a certificate of occupancy, which means the fire marshal and I go out to the structure and look to make sure that if it's a new business, if it's a new structure, then I do it on my own, with the exception of if it's restaurant related or there's a fire suppression system, then the fire marshal comes with me. So we go there and do code inspections to make sure that it is with either existing structure code compliant or new structure. And then once they pass their inspections, then they're able to get their business license.
Okay. And then this, what you're proposing here now, is enforcement of the business license.
It's
Then whatever the codes for them to operate.
Right, so what
They
we're
need to
proposing
be
is, because
compliant.
every year they have to renew their business license.
Okay.
Okay, and in times past, inspections haven't been done
Yearly.
as often as they should be. So now, since we have, Charles Bailey is the fire marshal and he's taken over safety, and he's doing these inspections to make sure that all of the structures are inspected on a regular basis. So when he goes in there, one of the things that should be asked, but he hasn't had the authority to ask it, is, where's your business license? And if they don't have it, he doesn't have the authority to do anything about it. So now he can go in there and say, where should, you know, let us see your business license. We can figure out, you know, make sure their occupancy loads are correct. Make sure that all the fire extinguishers, if there's any code violations beyond fire, you know, then he can call me. We can come out, take a look, see what's going on. Give them an inspection report. Give them the ability to fix themselves. And if they don't, and if there's an extenuating circumstances why they can't, we can extend that. If they're not, then we can suspend their business license, shut them down until such time as they're able to bring themselves into compliance. Charles has mostly the life safety issues with the fire, and then structural and other things, and then our own city ordinances.
Okay. So as it stands now, it's the police department that has been doing that. This ordinance does now give the fire marshals the authority to be able to do that, where it should have been all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
It should have been, that's the way it should have been. So we're just
Yes, ma'am.
really trying to get this straight.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
sounds
So,
good.
Chief Washington.
I'm sorry, Count.
Sure, you may.
And for the record, we have no objection to that. When the law was written during that time, that was the way that it was being done, was that the police department would go into businesses and check the business licenses. If the business licenses were not renewed, then it would be the police department's responsibility to go and enforce it. Since then, the rule of thumb is that if a jurisdiction is large enough to have a codes enforcement office, then it should be the responsibility of the codes enforcement office. I called quite a few different jurisdictions across the state who do have codes enforcement offices, and it's their codes enforcement office who does enforce the business license, anything dealing with the business license as it relates to the renewals or any infractions that may take place that are violations of the business license. What we have said to Ms. Marie, that if she runs into a situation where she's not comfortable going into a business, or if there's some reason that she feels unsafe, then all she has to do is let us know, and we will have one of our police officers to accompany her or to accompany the assistant fire chief, well, fire marshal, excuse me, to make sure that they are safe. So as far as the police department is concerned, we have no objections. I told her that we would get together and assist her with writing the ordinance if need be.
Okay, sounds good. I'm satisfied.
So as I understand, if I'm not mistaken, shouldn't every business have their business license displayed for the public to be able to see?
Yes, ma'am. It's written on the business license that it's supposed to be displayed in a conspicuous place.
So are you saying you're running into businesses in Darlington that's not displaying their licenses?
What I'm saying is I haven't gone out there to do, because it wasn't the duty of the codes enforcement office
Right, okay.
previously.
So,
What she's saying is she basically does the building official
I know what
stuff.
you're saying.
I go in and do a fire marshal inspection, which is completely opposite of her, and it don't make sense for me to go in and do that inspection without checking the business license.
Right,
And
right, to see if it's legit.
Right. I'm going into businesses on a regular basis, she's not going in.
That's what I asked.
So it don't make sense for me to pick up the phone, have to call her, let her come over there and do that when I'm already into business, and I can take care of it.
And Ms.
Right.
Ms.
So the
Backus,
question was-
Ms. Backus, to your question, neither the fire marshal nor the codes enforcement had the authority to question or investigate regarding business licenses. That was solely the responsibility of the police department.
That wasn't the question. Again, the question I was asking was, have you been into a businesses where you haven't seen the license displayed?
Oh, yes, ma'am. As a citizen, I go into businesses and I see that it's not displayed. Yes, ma'am. That's regular.
And I've also seen the same thing.
That was all the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which causes you to immediately investigate. Gotcha.
So would that also pertain to, for example, maybe on the weekend, if you see somebody that's doing a roof or something, how would you handle that?
We could also do the same thing. Now, I think that would fall under another ordinance.
Because it may not be, maybe a roofing company or an individual working for a roofing company or something that's not, in a building.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs.
So-
Davis, my understanding, may I answer this?
Sure.
My understanding with my friend Steve Butler, Southeast Lawn Care, he doesn't have a building, he works with lawnmowers. And he has stopped in other counties and cities, and whoever they have that is inspecting them will walk up and say, do you have a business license? So to answer your question, if I would feel like if Charles rides by and sees somebody building something, he then should have the authority to say, do you have a permit? And also, do you have a business license, in the same question?
And to answer your question also, Ms. Backus, we don't issue permits without first checking to ensure they have a city business license. So contractors have to have an active city business license and an active state contractor's license in order to be issued a permit.
Okay,
So if
can I
they're-
finish your question?
Sure.
What I was leading to was, so if you ran into somebody over the weekend, that's doing some contractor work, or that, and you ask for a license and they don't have a license, what would you do then? Would you say they have, what would you do?
I personally would get all of their contact information. I have the ability, because I have shortcuts on my phone, to check to see if they have contractor's licenses. And if I feel like something is going, if they don't have a permit, we have a problem. And I've had people.
When you shut them down.
That's when I shut them down. I stop their job immediately. I stop jobs during the week. I stop jobs. I ride by. People don't realize that I ride my bike on the weekend, a couple hours a day. And I have stopped jobs. I've stopped, pulled up on my bike, got off my bike, and said, "What are you doing?" So yeah, on the weekends, jobs get stopped. I've had people call me because they didn't. Not only were they working, but they didn't feel like they were doing the work properly. And so I come out and look at that. So yeah, stuff happens on the weekend as well. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for letting me complete the question before you try to answer.
Sure, absolutely.
Councilwoman Backus, if I might add, oh, I'm sorry, sir.
I got it, and this is just something I think I saw in the paper skimming and didn't sit down and read it, but I understand the piece of legislation on getting businesses licenses that been proposed by Jay Jordan over in Florence that I think has now been approved by the governor. So who is responsible, if that is correct, who's responsible for checking the new legislation against our current city ordinances relating to how people go about getting business licenses?
We have until January 1st, 2022 to put that into
Okay,
order, effective order.
okay.
So we have some time before that's something.
So the business license are gonna go to the state now?
No, it's just, it's a business license standardization bill that passed, where there's gonna be one class code for all businesses statewide, and a standard, time that you come in and get a business license, and a standard time that all cities will bill for business license. So it won't be somebody bills in May, somebody bills in June, somebody bills in January. It's all will be one time. So the contractor in Aiken and the contractor in Florence and the contractor in Myrtle Beach and Darlington all have the same dates. It's just very much something that municipal associations have been working on for years with the State Chamber of Commerce and different building association groups and contractor groups. They've taken probably the last dozen years to craft this. So it's a big deal.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to add one additional thing to Councilwoman Backus's concern. A lot of it will depend on how the ordinance is written. Enforcement powers can be given through the ordinance to whomever needs to have them. And whatever those powers are can be given through the ordinance. And so that's why it was, when she and I discussed this on yesterday, I suggested that myself, the fire marshal, and the fire chief, the four of us, sit down, and the city manager as well, the five of us, and sit down and discuss that ordinance to make sure that those powers and who has the authority to do that is thoroughly discussed and thoroughly explained, but also written out, so there's no misunderstanding once that ordinance is issued.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Any action needs to be taken on that?
Well, if y'all are all right with what was presented tonight, we'll present it for first reading at the December 1st meeting.
Okay.
Well, I would like to see the ordinance after y'all read off the ordinance.
Before
I would
that
like to
meeting?
see it.
Before the meeting?
Yes, before the meeting. So you just, give me a little something.
There's a copy of that ordinance on the back page.
Well, you're gonna redo the ordinance, right?
That is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
new ordinance.
It's already explained out in that ordinance, who will have power, who won't have power.
The last page of this, that Sheila made up.
Page 3.
Well, I'm actually fine with it, I don't know. What else
We just wanted to present for your discussion tonight, for you to look at and have the first reading at the next meeting, because sometimes we present a first reading without everybody having really seen it or looked at it, so this was, for you to have time to have due consideration of it.
If anything needs to be changed on the ordinance, we can still change it next time.
Okay, very good.
So the ordinance is not set in stone, if they decide to change the next time. Correct.
So we had first reading on the bottom of it,
All right,
right?
so we have a motion to approve the first reading of business license enforcement.
I think it'll be next month.
Yeah, the first reading was December 1st. It was just
Next November 1st,
December 1st.
December 1st. Okay. All right. Any further discussion?
Let's move on. Let's see, it's fine.
Okay. new business, asphalt trailer purchase. This is okay.
All right, the proposal that I just gave y'all is the most recent, from ISG. The one that was submitted in the packet was the original one that we got from ISG. And that was based off the North Carolina Sheriff's Association and their discount. The new one that you got is based off of the new SCDOT contract discount. And I just received that end of last week, I believe it was. And he'd already put the packet together, so that's why I'm handing it out tonight.
So this is on your procurement list now?
Sir?
So this is, just for clarity, this is a South Carolina DOT contract, thus we don't have to bid it out?
No, sir. They don't have to do that out now. State just bought, I think they bought about 30 units throughout the state. And it was a better price. So the first one that you have from ISG, you can disregard it, and we'll go through it real quick if you want to, the new one.
Okay.
We also have the one from JetVac. I know the one from ISG is the yellow unit that we demoed on Chestnut Street.
Okay.
The one from JetVac was the step unit. I think Mr. Seegers and the mayor and Ms. Backus, y'all were only three there for that demo, correct? So y'all saw that unit, but
I wasn't there.
you weren't there?
For the second.
Oh, I thought you were there, I'm sorry. Okay, so we just had two council members that were there for that one. It was a nice unit, but if you look at the specs, it's basically the same size. It doesn't have all the extra stuff. The one that DOT spec'd out, it has some extra lights and some extra equipment on it, not a lot, but it does have some extra stuff on it. And the unit that JetVac spec'd out, the total on it was $60,840. But if you take and compare apples to apples, from ISG, we're looking at theirs with the contract is $40,510.12. Now, then when you look under optional items, DOT did not spec theirs out with a vibratory plate temp. We did spec or ask for that to be an option.
You said it was 40,000?
Sir?
You said it was 40,000?
40,000, yeah, because the DOT, or the price for the unit itself is $40,011.25. And then you take away the $45,0113, which is the discount.
If you look right under in the red, you'll see the discount.
Okay.
Yeah, so that comes to $40,510.12. And then we have three different options up under. One of them is the vibratory compactor plate with storage, which is $3189.88. I think Councilman Bryant weren't you asking about the infrared, which is good for potholes, spider web, and asphalt, little small areas where you can set that infrared plate over it, heat it up, loosen it back up, and use, instead of having to cut that area out and replace the whole area, you can do like a 5x5 area with just minimal asphalt. So it saves you money on the asphalt. Now that unit's $9,882. And then they have the shipping and handling fee for crating it up and getting it here and everything else. So if you add if we decided to go with the three, or the two options, which is the vibratory compactor plate with storage and the infrared unit with the deck, with the shipping and handling and everything, we're looking at $55,182.19. So without the infrared would be $45,300. I think the infrared is not something we would use every day. but I think it would come in handy, especially around potholes, I mean, not potholes, but around manhole, covers and that kind of stuff. So,
The area that's at the, I'm sorry, apologize for interrupting you. The area that's at the bottom of Catchwell Ferry, for instance, right before the bridge on the right-hand side, there's the stormwater drain, and it has raised asphalt. It's a really bad bump, but also holds water every time it rains. So is this a situation where
yeah,
that?
you could go in there and heat it up with the infrared and just kind of rake it down and then repack it and not have to cut it out and resurface it. So, I mean, like I said, it has its pros and cons. It's not something that would be used every day, but it would save us money. Because if you had a manhole riser that you had to repair around, you could heat it up and do it with 2 or 3 scoops of asphalt versus cutting the whole thing out and using a yard of asphalt. So, it's gonna save you money, and it'll save you time as well. So I guess what we need to decide is, do we want just a unit, do we want the options with it? But like I said, comparing apples to apples, we're $40,510.12 versus $60,840.30. Both of them are well-built units. The DOT spec kind of beefed up the trailer a little bit, and the dump portion of the trailer. So I think we would be fine with either one of them. So that's depending on how much y'all want to
We
do.
already have a roller.
We have a ride-on vibratory roller, but my suggestion was whenever we did the demo of the unit on Chestnut, we used demoed a walk-behind vibratory roller. And I will tell you, my back was sore the next day. That thing was working. So we've got a ride-on vibratory roller, so we could take that on the trailer when we're going to do asphalt repair, and then use the plate temp. To me, would be a lot more. Just be a better unit for us for what we've got, especially since we already have a ride-on vibratory roller.
Now, with going with the ride-on and not buying, so there's 2 options. We can use what we got, carry 2 trailers, or we can buy the vibrate compactor and get away with not bringing an extra trailer and an extra roller. Is that right?
When you're doing a big repair, like we did on Hampton Street in the middle of the road, the ride-on is the way to go. When you're doing a small repair, the vibratory temp would be the way to go. So yeah, you could put everything on one trailer, take one trailer out, take it off, and have everything self-contained there. Also, one thing we did add to this one that wasn't on the unit that we demoed was a tack system where you could actually spray tack down. The tack, basically what the tack does is when you go in there and you prep it like we did on Chestnut, you had bare dirt, bare rock up under. We didn't put any tack down, so you didn't seal it off from any moisture. We just put the asphalt right on top of the dirt. So moisture can get in between the old asphalt and the original asphalt, and that can cause it to come back up eventually. But with the tack, you put that tack in there, and that seals it off before you put the new asphalt in there so that the moisture won't get to it and cause it to come back up. But that one did not have the tack tank on it, but both units that we spec'd out through Jetvac and through ISG, both of them have 30-gallon tack tank on it. And the one that's one of the options that DOT spec'd out on the unit from ISG also has a hand torch. So that if you have an area that's a little damp, you can take the hand torch and dry it out before you put asphalt on it. And that helps with sealing it as well. So you'll put fresh virgin, what they call virgin asphalt on top of wet surface.
Alex, the ISG product is better built than the Jetvac.
Both of them are well built. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. There's some things that I looked at on the step unit that I may have liked a little bit better versus the ISG. There's things that I looked at on the ISG, or it's actually the K&M unit, or the KM unit. There's things that I liked on it that was better, that I liked better than the one on the step. Both of them are good units. One of the selling features that Step was trying to sell us on was they use a old jacketed liner inside the walls of it. I've talked to a couple of people, and they said the only problem you have with that old jacketed liner is if that jacket starts leaking in between the walls, you don't have any idea it's leaking. Now you're going to have hot and cold spots. Because where it's leaking, it's not flowing fluid like it should, and you'll have cold spots. So, you know, like I said, there's pros and cons to both. So, for the money, I think we're better off with the K&M. I can't see where there's $20,000 difference in the units.
You said K&M, you saying ISG.
That's ISG, it's the KM 8000.
And if we did vote to get this, we would take half of the purchase price out of his reserve account, which is around $70,000 right now, and half from the water and sewer department, because most of his work is repairing water and sewer cuts.
They should be more, like 60/40.
But y'all dealing, so sure, that was just a suggestion.
I mean, the water and sewer, I mean, that's all our pocket is.
Do what now?
I was thinking the water and sewer should pay 60%.
That's up, sure. Okay. But it's something that's needed. You see the condition of a lot of our roads. And this helps us to get ahead of, instead of being reactive, helps us to be proactive.
Well, and one thing about this hot box, we can patch roads. I can take the dump truck and I can go get 4 tons, which is about 3.5 yards of asphalt from the plant, virgin asphalt hot. During the hot months, during the summer months, you got about a 2.5 to 3 hour working time. If you don't have it off of that truck within 2.5 to 3 hours, you're going to have to dig it all over the back of it. I mean, it starts setting up, it gets harder. With this hot box, we can take and put 4 tons in it, and if we don't use all 4 tons today, and we need to come back tomorrow, if something happens and we can't get it all on the ground today, we can turn the burner on and let it heat overnight, and the next morning when we come back, we still got hot virgin asphalt that we can put on the ground. So, you're not, the other way, if you don't have it in 2.5, 3 hours, we got to dump it on the ground and try to figure out what we're going to do with it at a later date. One thing about it is, with this hot box, if you've got virgin asphalt on the ground that you hadn't used, you can break it up, put it back in this hot box, and reclaim it and use it again. As long as it has not been compacted, it's considered virgin asphalt, and you can put it back in
You
this
have
hot
to
box.
take it out if you go get 4 tons and put it in there, and only use 3 tons a day, you have to take the other ton out, or whatever.
You don't have to take it out. I mean, you don't want to leave it in there for months, but if you can leave it in there for a week or something, you can leave it in there, and then, you know, both of these boxes have timers on them. So if we're going to plan on starting asphalt work at 8:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, we can set it so that the burner comes on at 3 o'clock in the morning, and by the time you get there, it's reached 300 degrees and it's ready to go back on the ground. So, well, you can't do that if you use a dump.
So, this is the one you want though? You want this?
The KM 8000,
And you want it?
I
at
can't
the
see spending an extra $20,000. So, I mean, there's not that much difference between the two to spend an extra $20,000.
Do you want it with the,
Yeah.
I think that we should look at the vibratory plate temp and the infrared. If we've got the money, I would say go ahead and invest in it. If not, maybe look at putting it in the budget and getting it next year or whatever we need to do. But, I mean, I know areas right now that it would come in handy that we could use it. But I don't want to break the
So
city
this
trying to buy a hot
total
box.
is that 55,182, 19.
55,182.19 is what the
Is
total
what we're
price
looking
would be.
at, and, okay.
And we could have it in probably, they say 30 to 45 days, but he told me today that we could have it in probably 3 weeks.
All right.
what's our finance? So doing this, we was
Come
going
from
to, out of
the
the
street
budget.
sanitation reserve and out of the water sewer reserve.
I kind of thought we all that demonstration, we kind of decided we was gonna get something.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that this is gonna be one of our better buys. I think this
You
is
always
huge.
gotta, we had 3 word breaks the other day, thank goodness they weren't all in the middle of the road, but
You
you
can
constantly
treat
got
it
word
one day.
breaks, and you constantly got potholes, and if you ever worked with cold patch,
The coal patch doesn't last.
I know.
Go look at Richmond Street, we put
Oh, okay.
120 bags on Richmond Street probably 5 months ago,
I can't
and you
imagine.
can't even tell.
I can't imagine the man hours that have been spent literally directly in front of my father's house on those one potholes for my entire life. I mean, the same potholes. So this is gonna be huge. Love to be able to fix a pothole and not come back to it. So I'd like a motion that we approve
Thank you. I
the
second.
Infrastructure Solutions Group for the total of all the optional items for $55,182.19. I'd also like to ask council of nine if we split it 60-40 with the water department, since they're gonna be the main causes of the issues that this is gonna be fixing. And their pocketbook is more fortuitous. Any seconds?
As long as you don't take his money where he can't fix a fire.
Yes, sir. Elaine, did you second?
Yes. Long time ago.
Mr. Nettles? Aye. Ms. Backus?
Aye.
Miller? Chambers? Aye. Aye. That motion is carried for
Appreciate it.
purchase of the K&M unit, the ISG unit, which is a quote number RD 11.1.2020, for a total of $55,182.19, which includes the additional, options at the bottom of the updated sheet, with the purchase being from 40% from the street and sanitation and 60% from water and sewer. All right, thank you. All right, new business, C, tree trimming report, Lisa?
Thank you, Mayor. As some council members have asked, I'm just gonna kind of explain how the tree trimming works around town. Pretty much if somebody we are responsible for all the street trees. So if there's a tree in the right of way, which is basically between the sidewalk and the street, generally, then it's our tree. Some streets, every street's got a different right of way, so some extends on the other side of the sidewalk, some obviously streets don't have sidewalks. So pretty much every street, somebody calls and complains about a tree, I'll go out there, see if it's our tree first, and if it is, then go to the next step. The next step would be to call the arborist. Our arborist is Mr. William Carter. He comes out and looks at the trees for us at no charge for this type of work. He'll come and say, this tree is healthy, or this tree needs to be trimmed, or this tree is a hazard of such degree that it needs to come down immediately, or not as immediately. So he'll give me that report. And then we go through to order that kind of work as needed. Most of the large trees, the large older oak trees that typically fall during storms, we don't have any equipment to trim those larger trees. So we don't have a bucket truck or anything like that, so we could pretty much get smaller, lower limbs, but we're not gonna be able to do a lot of the tree work, almost all of it's farmed out. The beautification worker does go around and he'll do the trimming and suckers and things on things that are much lower, but that's not the really expensive stuff. So, and that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Weather and storms pretty much eat up the tree trimming budget every year. Some years it will blow the budget by a lot, and some years it will just squeak in. Most years we have about $20,000 for trees. This year, just in weather and hazard related trees, we've already spent almost $12,000 of that fund. and that was since July. And we didn't have any bad hurricanes. You just never know what kind of year it's gonna be with windstorms and rainstorms. Typically, after we do have a storm, I'll drive all the streets and look at the trees to see if there's something obviously amiss. Ms. Backus had asked about that, how often we check them all. Obviously, we don't go down every street every month or every year. It just kind of depends on the storm situation is generally when we go and do a survey of the trees. If we have a specific tree fall, for example, if you remember a few years ago, a tree fell over on Wood Street. There wasn't a storm, it was a huge tree and it just went over. We did a survey in that area, about 3 streets, and it cost us about $3,000 to do a survey to identify specifically which of those trees were hazards, which weren't. So that's why we kind of eyeball it for the most part, just to keep within the budget. Now, based on these phone calls, and I keep a running track of all the tree issues that we have approximately, we've got 20 trees that need trimming. I've already scheduled that trimming. We're just waiting on the tree company to do it, and that's going to cost $5,000. So you figure 12 and 5, you're already at $17,000 roughly. We got $3,000 left. Now, in that report that the arborist went and checked on several trees, there was a couple of trees where there had been limbs that fell on West Broad Street. So I walked and looked at the ones that I thought were questionable and asked the arborist to check all of those. If you look down West Broad Street, you'll see lots of little orange flags, and those are the ones that we checked.
Okay.
Some of those are going to be trimmed, but several of them need to also be removed. And of course, removal's really expensive. There are 4 large oak trees that are hazardous that need to be removed. There's also an oak tree on North Main Street, and the Bradford pear trees in front on Hampton Street are another hazard. And of course, Clemson Extension has been asking everyone to take down Bradford pear trees because they're an invasive species. They merge with local species, and it ends up being like some kind of briar patch type thing that's really not attractive. Or if you look down the bypass, you'll see some of it in those wooded lots.
Okay.
In the spring, you'll notice it because they'll flower and it'll look pretty, but if you were to walk through there, you'd not be very appreciative of it. So those are the things that we need to get done. I got prices on all of that. And so the removals and everything, it's over $13,000. Now, I'm gonna ask council to, just shift some money in my department's budget to cover these costs. Moving some money out of the Carnegie Library fund since we're no longer gonna be using it ourselves. $5,000 out of the advertising budget, $5,000 out of professional service, $1,000 out of beautification, and $1,500 out of the beautification board, coupled with the money that's left over in our fund to cover these costs. Now, these costs, it will be, we will need approval to spend $10,150 with Trees R Us, and that will include removing the trees and removing the stumps, and $6,000 to Scott's Construction for sidewalk removal and replacement. And the reason I included the sidewalk removal and replacement is when a lot of these larger oak trees are a source of complaint for the sidewalks. And to remove the roots, the sidewalk has to be removed before they can take the tree down and get the stump around. And then obviously we wouldn't want to leave it with holes in the sidewalk. And to give you an idea of how much sidewalk we're talking about, it is, on Hampton Street, it's about 10 pounds. And on Broad Street, it's 15. So it's long stretches. because these are large trees, there's four or five panels at a time. And so staff is requesting approval for us to spend $10,150 for Trees R Us to remove the trees and stumps, $6,000 for Scott's Construction for sidewalk removal and replacement. And these are the areas that will be just shifting the money out of those particular accounts into the tree trimming line.
One thing that I worry about too is we haven't had a hard winter in probably half a dozen years. If we get an ice storm, it really compounds things because it's much worse than a hurricane.
Yeah.
Those Bradford pears, the ones that haven't been split, will break in half. We'll lose a lot of the pine trees, the tops, and those oak trees that are brittle will bust up too.
And typically when, based on what I try and do is, if there's not an imminent hazard, I try and get the trimming stuff done, because that'll save us in the long run. Because if those large dead limbs are just trimmed down, that may cost us $300 or $600, but we don't have to take the whole tree down, or the whole tree doesn't fall in the street. And so that's why I went ahead and ordered the tree trimming of those 20 trees. Because I figured we got more coverage from that.
Do we need to approve anything tonight?
We would need you to approve, moving those funds, transferring those funds to the tree line item, and spending $10,150 for Trees R Us and $6,000 for Scott's Construction for the sidewalk.
I just have one question. On the sidewalk part of it, well, two questions. Do we go out and compare different groups to their replacement? Like,
I mean, we could, I just called somebody that I knew would show up.
I mean, I was just curious.
I mean,
I didn't
frankly.
know if that dollar amount.
I don't know if that's small job, because you're talking about mobilizing down Broad Street to four or five different locations, and then to Hampton Street to another location.
And you were talking about the panels. Do you know how many, like, linear square foot?
I
You said it's like 15 panels and 10 panels?
Yeah, it's about 25 panels. And some of these panels are not your standard 10, they're, I don't know, they're not standard size panels.
We got Trees R Us and 6,000 with Scott's. What was the second company?
$10,150 for Trees R Us for the tree and stump removal, and $6,000 for Scott's Construction for the sidewalk removal and replacement. And this is all money that's already in the budget, it's just not in the line item for trees.
What's the tree line item?
It's a $592.73.
However, I guess when I motion this, I just motion to approve the $10,000 for Trees R Us, the $6,000 for Scott's Construction, and their appropriation of the funds needed into line item.
Correct.
Second.
All right.
I'd like to motion that we approve, the funding allocation of $10,150 to Trees R Us and $6,000 to Scott's Construction, and allocation of funds into the tree line item 592 .73.
590.273.
590.273.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Nettles?
Aye.
Ms. Backus? Millie? Okay. Mr. Seegers? Okay. All in favor? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
They should begin work probably in a month or so.
Okay, thank you. All right, new business, D, Darlington Veterans Memorial Funding Request.
Mr. Mayor, I can speak to that. Brenda Jenkins, who's the commander out at the VFW post, had called within the last 2 weeks, saying that they were planning some more work at the Veterans Memorial, and they wanted to make a funding request to us. So I told her to send a letter with a rendering of what they wanted to do, which she did send a few weeks ago. You should have a copy of that for your file. Just to note the previous history, In 2011, the city of Darlington gave $75,000 for the original memorial, which was put in place, I believe, in 2014, May of 2014. And then in May of 2019, we gave an additional $10,000. So that's our giving history for the Darlington Veteran Memorial.
So what are they asking? I didn't see it in there.
Looks like there's 4 different levels. There's a bronze for 1,000, silver for 5,000, gold for 10, and platinum for 25,000.
So they didn't say, they just want us to make the choice.
I'll leave that up to
Go
you.
platinum
I
shots.
would be happy to support the bronze and the silver level, but to be frankly honest, last year, can you give me a total of how much we gave to nonprofits? Anything that's outside of our own spending?
You asked me a few hours ago if it
Yeah.
I know we gave $5,000 to Sleep Study Festival, and we gave $10,000 to the Veteran Memorial, and $15,000 for Freedom Fest that year. My guess would be it's probably $40,000, just outside of our normal
I'm
operation.
thinking of a couple more. We've got a lot of expenses coming up in the next few fiscal years. So as much as I want to support our local nonprofits and these organizations who are doing great things, I have to maintain the security of the hospitality funds for the projects that we know that we have coming down the pipeline. And that's unfortunately my main interest right now. So I would be happy to be a bronze or a silver level member as far as supporting this organization's new venture, but I would not be comfortable, giving it the gold level or the platinum level. And just want to kind of make it known to the community that I'm going to have this position over the next probably 12 to 24 months, because we just need to be very careful, very cognizant of where we're sending our dollars until we really get a good concrete idea of what our future expenditures are going to cost us.
So your proposal is 5,000 bronze?
No, ma'am, I did not actually pick one. I just said I would be
I
happy
mean the
to
silver,
I would
that'd
be
be
su-
silver.
Yeah, I'll be happy to support
I
either
mean
one
the
of those.
silver, whatever says 5,000. I think the 1,000 is too small for veterans.
Okay, I'll be happy to support that.
Well, let me ask a question. Why does it have to be a preset amount? I would think they would take whatever we were going to give them if we needed to split the difference between 1 and 5. Am I wrong in that assumption?
No.
So, I mean, we definitely to Mr. Gardner's point, we want to do something to help them and to yours, but I don't think we need to be locked into what the amounts are specified as. And I think if we did $2,500, I think that's a pretty strong level, and we're still committing and we're watching our budget at the same time.
That's a big drop. You said we gave them 15,000 last year.
10,000.
10,000 last year. I'm just,
But you
that's
initially
why I
did
was saying,
75,000, so you're already, you're at 85,000 already. So I'm thinking, minimize it, but participate.
what do you say? Because I like the 5,000.
I can mention too that we've had a local philanthropic person, I won't mention any names, but they have a foundation that they want to give money to the Veterans Memorial, but they want to give it through the city. So that will be coming in the next week or two of $5,000.
Well, then why don't we wait until we know that's there before we do anything?
Well,
I just think we need to have multiple considerations. I mean,
What's your amount that you wanted, 25?
I'm just saying, if
You want
we
5, y'all
yeah,
meet in the
because you
middle?
mentioned you would support both bronze or silver, and I agree with you. And I'm saying, why are we pigeonholed into one amount when we can do, say, 25, and we're still contributing substantially, in my opinion, so.
Elaine wants 5, Howard, Councilwoman Elaine Reed would like 5, Councilwoman Howard Nettles would like 2,500. Shall we propose meeting in the middle? Or any other council members have any opinions? I'm not comfortable with 2,500. I feel like that's too small. I'm sorry.
But you just said, you just said that you could support the bronze and the silver.
I could, but I mean,
That's why I threw that out.
I get it. I'm not saying that I'm two-faced. I am saying I'm two-faced. I'm saying that I'm not comfortable with that small of amount, but I don't wanna give a large amount.
So,
some other
that's why I
councilors-
said silver, the silver level, 5,000, I mean, it's like half of what we did last year, which indicates, goes along with we're being a little bit more fiscally responsible because of our projects that we have going on.
But we're really not, but, I mean, we can go either way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in giving them $10,000 every year, so that's what the, that's
What are you saying, Howard? I heard you say we really not, I mean, I'm trying to see,
So let me remove my mask so I can be more clear. So, as Councilman Gardner said, he could support the bronze level at 1,000 or the silver level at 5,000. So I said, then why don't we go in the middle and split it at 2,500? That was simply what I was stating. You know, if someone thinks $1,000 is not enough, or, you know, 10,000 is too much, I'm just offering an alternative to the levels that they specified for us to go in there at.
okay,
That's all.
all right, so it wasn't, okay. I thought you was indicating something else at your last statement. But the silver level, that 5,000, it seems like I kind of, these are veterans. These are veterans, and we gonna be, it's less than what we gave last year.
They requested a date by which these funds be paid.
I don't believe so.
Do we know what their construction timeline is?
I do not know that. I believe the total budget for this project is around $60,000. It seems like maybe Ms. Jenkins mentioned that on the call. What we could do is, whatever amount you decide on, is have a nice letter written to go along with it, urging the mayor and other folks to give generously.
Oh, goodness. Well, how do y'all feel? I mean, what's the other one you got voted on? Do you want the 5,000 or you want something less?
Sounds like, yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're interested in
I mean,
money.
just-
We don't know
just
if
say
we're
it,
going
let's move
2,500 or
on.
5,000. We've definitely heard from myself, Councilwoman and Councilman Nettles. Does Councilman Milling or Mrs. Bacchus, Councilwoman, have any comment?
But when I'm Mayor Pro Tem, he don't wanna give none, do he?
He's on the,
I'm on that committee, so I'm kind of sitting on my hands.
Yeah, oh, okay.
You have conflict.
Oh, my goodness. Always figuring out it out. Oh, goodness, y'all.
What you think, Judge?
Well, I'll make a motion that we give it the $5,000 level.
If
So,
you might be two-faced in the future, I will go along with $5,000. But you don't get to be two-faced again.
so we have a motion,
I guess that's his second.
yeah, I didn't
Or I'll
make a
second
motion.
if that was not.
Mr. Mills was your second. Mr. Mills, did you second it?
Yes.
Who
Oh.
made the motion to give the 5,000? I heard them discussing, but.
Elaine made the motion.
I made one.
Motion.
I made the motion to, that we approve to give them,
Billy made a second.
$5,000.
Mr. Nettles,
I'm not gonna be the bad guy.
Mrs. Backus,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Can't back out twice in one night.
aye. And you are refraining from voting. Okay, so motion is carried to award $5,000 the silver level for the Veterans Memorial Park wall to be constructed. All right, thank you for their service. And it's a beautiful corner, and doing a great job.
I might add, this new addition we're gonna do, I think we can put like 1,200 more bricks up there.
Oh, my goodness.
How much do you pay
Wonderful.
per brick? Or how much does the brick cost?
$250? Is it still $250, $500?
I don't think it's 250, was it? It was like $50
I
more.
think it was $50 per brick, wasn't it?
I think it's $50.
Okay,
Oh,
that's wonderful.
All right. New business, commercial recycling fee proposal.
it's your night tonight, huh, Alice? Okay.
Does everyone have the spreadsheet that I submitted?
It is, I think, located behind the picture of the memorial, Veterans Memorial.
And I just want to get clarification before we get too deep into this.
All right.
It says commercial recycling fee proposal.
Increase.
And my spreadsheet, last month, I thought we decided that we were gonna bring the commercial roll carts and the commercial recycling before council this month. Is that right or wrong?
Right.
Okay, because my proposal, or my spreadsheet has both of them. But E says commercial recycling fee proposal. So I want to make sure that we're talking about all of it tonight.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
we're talking about all of it. We have,
321 and 35.
that's right, we got 321 commercial roll carts as of right now. We've
Okay.
been charging, well, when we did the rate increase in July, I had proposed going up to $45 on commercial. And we adopted $28.50 for residential, and it kind of rolled over commercial, I guess. We missed the $45. The reason I proposed going up to $45 on commercial roll carts was because roll carts for residential, it doesn't cost us a dime to dispose of it at the landfill. We just have man hours, trucks, wear and tear on the vehicle and that kind of stuff. That's what we have involved. But whenever it comes to commercial, we have to pay tipping fees at the landfill, so it costs us to dispose of commercial garbage. So that's why I propose going up to $45 to help offset that cost or to cover the cost of the tipping fees for commercial roll cars. We're talking about 321 cars, we're not talking about a lot of money. But that was why I proposed going up more so on commercial than residential. And then we talk about the commercial recycle roll carts. We have 35 of those currently. We did have Pluff Mud was doing it. Now the city has taken that on. We're doing the recycling, commercial recycling ourselves. We weren't charging anything for commercial recycling for the roll carts. And Pluff Mud was charging us $11.50 per cart, so we were going in the hole. Nothing was adopted whenever we did our budget work sessions or when we approved our new rate increases, so we're still not collecting any money for commercial roll cart recycling. So I proposed going up to $25 because there again, we have a truck, we have man hours, and we have to pay to dispose of it at Sunoco. So I proposed going up to $25 versus not collecting anything, so we're not going in the hole offering the service.
Pluff Mud's not getting the $11.50 anymore.
No, sir, we're not paying because they're not picking up carts anymore, we're doing it ourselves in-house. And what we're doing is, right now, we do residential every other week. And we're doing commercial every week. To be honest with you, we could probably cut back the commercial, most of our commercial accounts every other week and do it when we do the residential. I'm gonna kind of monitor it and see where we're at. We have a couple of businesses that would require recycling every week, but there's not many of them. But we're gonna monitor it and see how it works out. But what we're doing is we're picking up the commercial recycling the same days that we're doing the residential recycling. We're just putting more load on the truck. So we're catching the businesses that are in the area to recycle for residential. Any questions?
Have you got any projection as to the increase in revenue for these 321 carts and 35 of the others?
You got a phone, I can tell you.
It's $5,400.57 is your increase for just the roll cars, not the recycling one. So then you got 25 times $35, 25 times 35.
We were charging $23.50 for commercial roll cars. So if you take the $23.50,
You got $875 for the commercial roll car, for the recycling.
so we're increasing by $21.50.
Should be about $6,300 increase.
Saying 69.01.10 sound right a
Yeah,
month.
that's what I'm getting a month extra.
So it's $82,000 a year. So that's on the commercial. Is what we're increasing the revenue for commercial roll cars. But I can tell you right now, $82,000 sounds like a lot of money. But since I've been down there and you start, I can't tell you how many, we're tearing tires up right and left. We're spending, every time I turn around, we're spending $1,000, $2,000 on tires on those trucks because the landfill's killing them. We just put tires on one of the trucks, I don't know how, 2 months ago, and we just replaced them again in the last few days.
All of them?
No, not all of them, but it gets them, I mean, but when you replace two of them, when you replace one, you got to replace two if it's on the same axle, on the same side.
Is there anything we can do to talk to the landfill about
I'm
that?
gonna talk to the landfill and see if they can get us a better place to dump, because right now we're having to, from what they're telling me, I'm gonna ride out there and look at it and see. They're telling me we're having to drive over all the trash and down hills, I mean, we're tearing the trucks up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pulling catwalks off of them and everything else. I can't tell you, I've welded the catwalks on the cherry pickers 3 different times since I've been there. Because what's happening when it goes down the hill, it's bottoming out and it's pulling the catwalks and it's breaking them. So, we're gonna have to do something different, but $82,000 ain't gonna go far with maintenance on these trucks.
All right. We'll make a motion to approve it.
We have to, it have to be a form of ordinance, so we have to have first reading on the first and the second reading in January.
All right, so we just agree to have a first reading
December first.
December 1st. Okay, thank you.
So now, do we have the ordinance here? No?
So we'll do a first
We
reading.
didn't do that.
December.
Sit down.
We have 2 ordinances for that.
Okay, very good. All right, department head reports, any, questions from the department head?
I got a question for them.
Okay.
Mosquito spraying. I didn't think I'd get calls in November, but I definitely have gotten 2 calls in November about mosquito spraying. Can I get a report on what's going on with our truck if we have this spraying? And what is our position if we have not? When will we start?
I'll take that. We do not have anybody that's certified by DEC to do that. So that's the biggest problem with that. You have to be certified to distribute those chemicals. So we don't have anybody with a DEC certification. If we went out and sprayed, we'd be in violation of the law.
What does it take to get somebody certified?
Pat, you were the last one certified. Any idea what that is?
Yes, sir, they have to go to take a 8-hour test time in Columbia.
How long does that last?
About 5 years, as long as they do their CEUs, continuing education, so it would be a non-commercial pesticide applicator, which is fairly inexpensive for the city to do, because we get by with non-commercial versus commercial, and they can do the same thing. So when I took it, gosh, in 2008, and went down there, took the test in about 4 hours, and we were good.
Is this something we could look at and having a current employee certified to do that?
Yeah, I feel sure we can. What type of shape is the mosquito truck in? It's from
The mosquito truck itself, I mean, it runs, it's fine. We cranked the sprayer up the other day just to service it and check it out and see if it runs fine too. So, I mean, Getting it back on the road won't be a problem, we just got to get a certified applicator.
And we'll have to re-educate the public, we haven't done it in several years. And I won't get into the minutia of that, but sometimes if they see anybody outside, they have to push a button and it just puts out a mist. Because you're not supposed to spray it around people.
They can't run behind it.
No, not like we did when we were children, right?
Can I add something, Mr. Howard? The issue we saw when we were doing mosquito spraying for ourselves, in the city, it's like the fort. We're out spraying 2 or 3 nights a week. Well, the county quit spraying. So it's almost like the Alamo. If we're not doing anything on the outside of our walls, we're in here basically wasting our mosquito spray because the county's not doing anything. We'll spray within 4 or 5 hours, they're coming back in our walls. That was one of the things we had going on. That's when we started using the LDAC, those briquettes that we got after the issue with the mosquito spraying. They have 90-day or 150-day tablets they put in all standing water. Well, these tablets, when the water is there, they activate, they kill all the larvae. When it dries up, the tablets dry up and they're not putting the chemical out. So that was the way we were actually working for a while to save us on the mosquito spraying, because the chemical itself would run around $3,000, and we could go through that chemical in 6 to 7 weeks, and then 4 or 5 weeks later, with no outside help from the county helping at the same time, we'll overrun again.
Well, we got a creek runs right through the city, with a nice wetlands.
Yeah.
So we've got wetlands and creek surrounding us. I mean, I
Yes.
understand it's an uphill battle, but,
A lot of it's perception too.
yeah. So just maybe, I mean, obviously, as long as, winter gets here like it should, we should be fine,
Hopefully it'll kill
soon. But by next spring, maybe we can be ready to roll. I think that's, maybe you should, yeah, that'd be my answer, it's my position.
I mean, I think we should try it.
So I have a question. So I wanna know, Mr. Gardner, or Ms. Kinsler, what is the status of that study on Farm Street?
Council of Government's doing the study on it, working with Davis and Brown.
They're waiting on the engineering report to come from Davis and Brown to go with that application, and then there'll have to be a survey done, an income survey done of that neighborhood. That's the last I was told, and that was second week in October, I believe, the last time I asked about that. But I don't know, do you know if Davis and Brown submitted an engineering report on that?
I don't know for sure.
Now, I wish you,
Yeah. Cause see, when I read through the thing, what got me is that you keep saying a possible grant. I'm thinking that we were working on an application for a grant.
We are.
And that word really got on my nerves there, right? So it is, take that out. It's like, that we still,
well, I think the delay was just throwing in that they're doing a study to
Jesus.
imply that they're doing something.
All right.
I will say
Let's see
this, everybody in the city, I appreciate their support and help, because I don't know of anybody in the city that wants sewer or anything on any part of our city streets. I think you're all trying really hard to make sure it all happens in every part of our town. Mr. Kinsall, you, give us an update on the fire hydrants. I know the one on Broad Street, I saw that was repaired. There's 2 more.
They, the one out at Georgia Pacific was not a fire hydrant. We gotta put a valve in a line to take a blow-off hydrant off for the construction. And they're working on the one on Broad. They're trying to determine definitely the pipe size so we can have valves inserted. Get a company to come in and insert the cutoff valve in it, because there's no valve on that hydrant.
So on Broad Street's not been fixed yet, it is,
No, that's, so we gotta have a valve inserted in the line.
and then the one on Springs, South Main,
They've gotta get the parts for it.
and the one on Main Street, on South Main, the one that was, that's, North Main, is it North Main? No, South Main. South Main's the one in front of the News and Press.
Yeah, they gotta get a breakaway kit for it.
Can you give us an update on Broad Street?
They've installed a small sewer line, and they're probably 30% on the large, repairing the large line.
Timeline still,
Probably a couple months away, it's slow moving.
okay.
But the weather has been cooperative. We just checked on that yesterday. That's up-to-date numbers. We got those yesterday from the engineer.
Yeah, the weather has been a tremendous help so far.
Yeah. On the fire, I was debating whether to even mention this, but I got a call from, and they were just all out of whack about the painting of the fire hydrant. And especially with the, cartoon characters. Some was, they didn't seem to, look, the question to me was, did you all authorize that? It felt like it wasn't, I said, well, I wasn't aware that there was an issue about painting it. So I'm asking now, was that something I missed about painting it, or how did that come about?
I was not asked at all about it. The mayor may have a comment on it. I don't know who
Mr.
really
Reed, if you don't
spearheaded.
mind, I'll take
Oh,
it.
that's, okay.
Listen, a while back, most of the communities across the country are starting an adopt a hydrant program. So we had issues in town trying to get money and trying to paint hydrants. Well, the adopt a hydrant program is something that you give the homeowner that basically take pride in his hydrant. He cleans it up, he paints it up. And that's something we talked with Howard and we talked to the mayor about, because the garden club wanted us to go in and paint everything red and one color. If you remember in 2007, we painted the puppy dogs around the square. Now, after a while, people didn't like that. Some people thought they were great, some people didn't like them, we painted them red. Then the idea of the Adopt a Hydrant program came back to us. And it was something we wanted to do, and we had the option to handle it. A couple of things, like I said, the owner takes pride in it, they clean it, we still test it and number it, and we don't have to pay for the paint.
Okay.
And we still mark it so it's visible. Now, there were guidelines put out. There's certain things they can do and they can't do, so there's no obscenities, no things like that.
Okay.
But as long as they stay within the guidelines, it actually makes the town look pretty good and inviting. People can ride around. They can do scavenger hunts now. Tell me where the penguin is. Churches can do scavenger hunts. Chamber can do scavenger hunts. It was a great idea. And that was sort of the ball rolling in my area, talking to the mayor and Anna when we started doing this.
Very good. That's
The
a
county has approved it today.
Yes. They want a copy.
Yes, but they called me and told me that we're going to approve it. I haven't gotten a written approval yet, but they called and asked about it. And John Iskett approached us about that also, about doing it in the county. So theirs is a little different. Theirs is a little different. Their top has to be a certain color.
I'd like to thank Anna because she's been busy in my neighborhood.
Yours is next.
I'd like to say, we've had a really good response off of it. People have had a good time, families had a good time doing it and trying to make it look well, bringing the community together. So we got 325 that's, I think, instead or so inside the city. So
I got
it's
to
been
go
a
find.
small mark, but
I got to go find a fire hydrant on my street there. Let me see what's going on.
it's like,
What's the status of, the project on between D and E Avenue?
They're on the E end of Second now. Hopefully, they were jetting it out today. Hopefully, within the next day or so, they'll have that completed.
I'm supposed to take the camera down there in the morning, and we're gonna see, I was talking to Michael today, and they've got something going on, so I'm gonna take the camera down there in the morning, and we're gonna look at it and see if we can figure out what they've got, so they can get it finished up.
What's the update on the stormwater basin right beside, I call it the Marquette, the gas station at the bottom of the hill? We had a little washout right there. Y'all had coned up and now y'all have it.
So, you talking about in the sidewalk?
Yes, sir.
The state repaired that. There was a water line that was through the culvert pipe that went to the ditch. So the state went in there a couple of weeks ago. They said they repaired it and they backfilled it, because that's a state storm drain.
Okay.
So we went in there and looked at it, but when I found out what it was, I told them, I mean, they could have it. I mean, they got the resources to do it, let them go ahead and do it. So they went in and said they repaired it and they backfilled it. We're gonna see if it lasts.
Okay.
Council, I'm gonna quit now, but it seems like I'm getting a rash of new calls about our water mill. The last one they were saying, we were listening to y'all at y'all meeting, and they thought that it really was gonna go up, according to what they thought they heard, it was like $18 or something to that effect, how it was. And how did we get to, and I couldn't really answer it. I know it has a lot to do with our funding kind of stuff. So I want you to, shortly, a way that I can respond to that, because it's new stuff, it's new people coming in. I don't know whether the bills are high, I know mine is, but, I was expecting it. They're not expecting $40 increase as opposed to what they're thinking. I thought y'all meeting was, what I thought was $18. I said, okay. What can we do? Is there any way we can revisit that thing?
We talked to the bond attorney about that. I'm waiting for an opinion on that from the bond attorney. Because we have a bond that's tied into that rate increase. Waiting for official opinion from him on that.
Oh, okay, that's predicated on the monies that we will receive. Okay, I got it. But I'm not gonna tell them that.
Approximately 3 months ago, I guess it was your department, Kim, so they came out and put a cone on First Street, because there's a hole on First Street. And y'all came out and put in a cone, but, I'm concerned about when y'all gonna come back and do something about it. Cause it's a sinkhole.
Oh,
On First, or in the street, or on the side?
On the side of First Street.
And it, give me more specifics so I can check on it, I'm not sure.
You can't miss that orange cone in the side of the street.
Is it between Joe Lewis and H, or H and?
No. It's on First Street, when you turn off Joe Lewis, before you get to King School, on the
Okay.
right hand side.
That's, I'll check on it.
well, that's it for me.
We need to announce the passing of some folks here that have some service to the city. Earl Johnson Sr., who was the first African-American council representative from the West End, passed away. Our condolences go out to his family, which includes Elaine Reed. Also, Eloise Smyer, who was an original member of the Williamson Park Committee and a member of that group for 33 years, passed away the last day or two. She was 95 years old. Grew up with that lady. She was a sweetheart. She'll be doing this.
I'd like to thank DOT and Mr. Scarborough and Mr. Berry have been real cooperative in working with us, along with Representative Williams and Joyce Thomas, and have all been cooperative in trying to push together to get everything done. And the railroad also has been real cooperative and responsive of asking for help to get things cleaned up and taken care of. Mrs. Backus, how long has it been for Farm Street? 15 years is what I think you said one time?
15 years.
Okay. There's on Orange Street, Wells Street is supposed to be taken care of. It's been over 5 years for that. We finally get the response on that. They're supposed to be doing an emergency order to get Wells Street taken care of. Washington Street by Mrs. Harkless has been over 5 years, I believe, and no response. Farm Street over 15 years. As I told county, the DOT, I have a problem with things taking time. And I remember before I ran for mayor, Mr. Milling told me that sometimes that, I like things to be done quickly, and the government doesn't work the same way. But 15 years for Farm Street, 10 months for fire hydrants, 5 years for Washington Street, 5 years for Wells Street, with 5 collapses since December, since I've been mayor, are unacceptable. So, Mrs. Backus, I will be behind you 100% to get Farm Street taken care of, and Mrs. Reed, the proposal, we'll try our best to get that funding. We can't guarantee anything because we need funding for all these projects, but we're after it. So please let everyone know that we're 100% effort to get all these taken care of in a timely manner. but not 15 in 5 years, because, in 10 months for stuff is, unacceptable. So in my books. I do appreciate everybody's support and effort. I think we're seeing a great push forward. I think the city is doing a wonderful job. I think everybody on council is doing a great job. I know everybody on council, as I tell everybody, none of us up here agree 100% on everything. I don't agree with myself every morning. But we work well together, and we're trying to our best to push Darlington forward, and I think we're getting good attention. And so, thank you everybody for doing that. But again, you know, when we call and harass and aggravate you, it's only because we want it done. And I know everybody else wants the same thing. So if you can write the little checklists down and check them off and get them done, we'll all be happy.
New fire truck dedication next Monday, 6:30 at the fire department.
Okay, any further council comments? All right, reminders that Thursday, Friday, November the 26th and 27th of 2020, Thanksgiving holidays, the city offices will be closed. Tuesday, December the 1st, 2020, will be 6:30 PM, monthly meeting for city council. Do I have a motion to adjourn?